Life speaks. It speaks through struggles and success, through music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged from time to time. Here we will share stories of strength, testimonies of triumph, verses of victory, observations, and information meant to touch the heart and uplift the soul, to keep you on your path of purpose and navigate this thing called life with power and authority. This is Andrea L. Hines, and I'm your host for When Life Speaks, here on ALH Broadcasting, an affiliate of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. I am glad you accepted the invitation to join us tonight. There's something in this broadcast just for you, and if it is going to be a blessing to your life, it will be to someone else as well. So share, tag, start a watch party, and invite someone you know to join us. Then turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to When Life Speaks. I'm your host, Andrea L. Hines, and I have a guest host on with me tonight. And I tell you, we have had a wonderful time chatting before the program began. So I'm just hoping we'll remember everything. We have Antonio Santoro with us tonight, everybody. Antonio, how you doing?
I am doing wonderful. Thanks so much for having me. And hello, When Life Speaks Village. Thanks so much for joining us as well. And feel free to share this broadcast.
That's right. That's right. Antonio always knows exactly what to say. I tell you what. And we've got a couple of folk on the line already. Linda Cooks, good evening to you. And our birthday lady, Crystal Little, is on the line with us tonight as well. And there's Pastor Kelvin. God bless you, man of God. Glad to have you in the house tonight as well. And let me get everybody caught up. For the month of July, our July newsletter on When Life Speaks had to do with connecting the dots. And we were talking about the old activity books where you had the dots and you had the border and the outline and everything, and how life is like that a lot. We go from one thing to another as we grow, as we learn, and we grow in God, that we're connecting these dots. And a lot of the dots that we talk about where life is concerned, we decided to discuss in our summer series. So we have had, we talked about tenacity. 1 month, we've talked about delayed gratification being one of the dots. Antonio is with us tonight. We have a topic. And on the 4th, we're going to talk about detours, days, and delays and denials on the 4th of August. That is a show that we aired previously, but it is on our list of dots to cover. So we're going to do that as a replay. On the 11th of August, we are going to have our guest co-host is going to be Angie Oliphant out of South Carolina. And we're going to talk about from obstacles to opportunities. So you don't want to miss that. Now, I have an open date, and I don't know, Antonio, I don't know whether everybody's scared of this topic or not. Good evening, Zerlina. Hi, good to have you in the house tonight. But we need to talk about offense. Spirit of offense. So I'm looking for a brave co-host.
Someone's out there.
That's it. That will come on with me and talk about offense, because that is that is a big one. That is a big one, and that can create a border for us that sometimes we need to have, and sometimes not so much. But tonight we are going to talk about trusting God's timing. And I don't know whether some of you remember when Antonio was on with me before as a guest, and we were talking about a move that he made. How long has it been, Antonio?
It's been a year this month.
Is that right? It's been one
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
1 year,
yes,
and
ma'am.
he followed. He followed what God was telling him to do. He was obedient. And Antonio, for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about um, what you are doing now, where you are now, and just a snippet of that journey. Because I don't want, if I start tapping into that journey, we will never get to trust
Sure.
the timing of God. But that was a part of it. That
Yes,
was
it
a
was.
part of what you went through. So go ahead and share with us.
Of course, again, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks again for joining us this evening. Super excited to talk about God and his timing and
Yeah.
trusting it. That's the piece, trusting it. So, a little bit about me. I'm a North Carolina native, recently a new resident of Atlanta, Georgia, moved to Atlanta last year. And I have navigated the highways and byways filled with traffic of Atlanta and really just learning my new assignment and really trying to figure out exactly why I'm here. I know a little bit of that, but as it continues to unfold. But, after 7 years in Durham and literally a lifetime in North Carolina, I was prompted to come to Atlanta at the end of 2020 and was in much prayer. Um, as I felt a tug to come here. And in God's sovereignty, knowing his children, he knew I needed sign after sign. And I received that through a myriad of ways, from license plates to even a very direct message through a Netflix television show that's had my name and Atlanta in one line of the script. And again, this was through much prayer and how God aligned so many things, of which I got to keep my job. I received, the grace from my leadership, my spiritual leadership, to move on, and of course my family support. So things were just, again, it was just such an easy transition, which isn't always the case, but for myself, it was, God knew I needed that. And again, he's so sovereign. So it was just a beautiful transition. And since being here, again, I'm continuing to grow my network and grow my connections, and really fostering and cultivating my public relations business, and really having a great, successful year with that, in addition to my other endeavors as well. So, and then again, being planted with a church here, and growing in leadership in that church already. I think it's so interesting as we're talking about timing. And Andrea, you've seen just my evolution of maturity and growth at my time at the previous church, the River in Durham. You've had I guess the fortune of being a front row attendant of my growth. And it's like I had a conversation with Bishop Godby of the River as I was leaving and departing, and it's like, okay, I'm finally where I need to be, maturity wise. I'm finally, I'm at a place of, okay, I'm ready to continue, to the next level. But we realize that the next level is here in Atlanta. So it's just, again, the timing of everything. And what I thought initially was a place that would be a lifetime possibly for me, was really just an incubator or a preparation,
Right, right.
the launching pad for what's next. And I think as we go into this discussion of trusting God's timing, I think we oftentimes put those constraints and restraints on our current season that could potentially prohibit us from our next. And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's just a little bit about, who I am and what I'm currently doing, and kind of the transition here and trusting God's timing here.
And that's interesting too, Antonio, because we were talking right before we came on the air, and you had a series of instructions. I'll
Yeah.
put it that way, a series of instructions. And when you have that kind of series of instructions, and there is no doubt, those are the moments that it's one but God moment after another. And you know that it's orchestrated by the Father. You know that He is leading you and guiding you and telling you very clearly what to do. And like you said, we don't always get that. And when we don't get that, that's when we get in the middle of the mix and try to figure out, okay, I think it should be here, or I think it should be there, and I'm off. I'm going to go in the direction that's in my head, and not necessarily what I am hearing from God, or being willing to wait until I hear clearly from God. And we talked about, the example of the house. I want a house. God knows I want a house, and God says to me, you are going to get a house. And we don't hear any more of the instruction.
Right.
We don't wait for anything else. We have heard the part that we need to hear, and we are off to the realtors, and we're in the neighborhoods, and we're looking for exactly what we want, what we had in our mind, and we're doing it. We're doing it because God said,
That's
you
it.
know, but God didn't say that house. God
Right.
didn't even say that place. God didn't tell you any of those details. So a lot of times we inject our own timing, as opposed to going back and having the conversation and question with God in the process that says,
Yeah.
Father, is this what you want? Is this what you want me to have? Is this where you want me to go? Is this really what you want me to do? So when it stops looking like what we think it ought to look like, then we think, God made a mistake. Clearly He said a house. I found the house. This must be the house, because that's what He said.
Right.
So we stop. We start backing up. We don't, keep our trajectory the way that He intends for it to be.
You're exactly right. And I think about when we start to do that, I think about in the Bible when Lazarus died and Mary and Martha said, Jesus, if you had been here,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he wouldn't have died. And God knows, like they were putting a timetable on
Exactly.
a miracle worker, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's what we often do, as you mentioned. Like we know a piece of it, and we take it and run with it, and that could literally constrict the whole plan of God, And it's about again the set time of where we are and being present in that time. Again, God knew that we would be on this in this moment, and am I present in this moment? Am I present in this time? That's and we were talking about alignment earlier. That's where alignment really is being present in that time. God knew exactly, all the ways that were going to be made prior to me coming to Atlanta. And yet I just needed to be submitted and aligned with God. If I was, that's it. And if I was acting out of my flesh, acting out of my ways and not his, I would have totally missed this. I would have missed license plates, Netflix, confirmations left and right.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually reflecting on something a couple weeks ago from this powerful book, and I'm going to give you a shameless plug. Feel free to check out When Life Speaks by Andrea L. Hines. You can go purchase this at AndreaLHines.com. You can purchase this and some of her other products. And I know she was talking about the newsletter. If you want to get subscribed to that, at the very bottom of her webpage, you could just type in your contact information. Listen, by the way, what I just did was publicist work. I'm giving you PR work right now. So all those that are watching, that's what I do.
That's what he does. That's what he does.
So I make sure that people know. But anyway, there is literally there's something in here that I want to share that that really does resonate with me when talking about God's timing, and it is a piece that you wrote called alignment, and we were just talking about that. So, if I may, which again I appreciate you allowing me to share, alignment. I keep my mind clear of clutter. My discernment is vibrating on a higher frequency, and I differentiate between what is fake and fallible from what is actual and authentic. I move through the days keenly aware of the things that rob me of my productivity, and I adjust accordingly. I continually plan for success with the flexibility that enables me to perceive opportunities and open doors, then react with wisdom. Each day, I expect the best outcomes in my situations and circumstances. I declare and decree this is my set time. I am prepared and I'm ready to receive. And the reason why this resonated with me so much is because we were just discussing when we get so caught up, our minds are filled with clutter. We aren't operating on a high frequency. It's literally lower level living where we're so caught up on our feelings, our thoughts, our ways, and we miss the set time and the timing of God. And that trust, the trusting, and I know God's timing is a subject all in of itself, but
Right,
it's the
right.
trusting God's timing that we're talking about here. And that trusting comes from, as I mentioned, being submitted and aligned.
Thank you. And thank you for that, Antonio, and for the reminder in that piece. Good evening, Bernice. Glad to have you in the house tonight. And Angie, oh, glad to have you in the house as well. One of the things that we talked about, we were cheating tonight, guys, because
Yeah.
Antonio and I had a great discussion before the show began. But one of the things that we were talking about, because we know this about God, we know that he is all knowing, all powerful. He knows everything about us. He is able to direct us because he does know the whole plan. He does know the blueprint. He does have the entire picture in mind, which we don't. We don't think about timing. Timing never comes into play when it's going smoothly, when things are falling into place, when the dominoes are dropping just the way that we thought that they should, and he's giving us suddenlies, and things are just happening, and you're thinking, God, I tell you, thank you, God, thank you for everything that you're doing, thank you for the way that we're doing. It doesn't seem to be any struggle, and what struggle there is, he's handling it. I mean, he's working it out, and timing doesn't come into play. Timing doesn't cross our mind. It is not until we get into those dots, which we're going to talk about next week, of detours, delays, denials. All of a sudden, timing is a big issue. Why is it taking so long? When did I set up my own time frame? Because God doesn't always tell you it's going to happen next month or next year or next week or next whenever. We don't always get those signs. We don't always have those things. Now, we know that He's orchestrating everything. We know that He's concerned about all things that concern us. But when did we put our time frame in the middle of His plan? And why is it that we get to that point and decide that maybe he made a mistake?
Yeah.
When trust is not as easy because we have put our time frame in the mix. Why do you think we do that? Because we know how good he is.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
know all of that.
Yeah. I mean, as you were just sharing, I'm hearing pronouns, our, we,
Mm-hmm.
I, my timeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the crux of the issue. It's when we become so impatient and so anxious, and when we start to um, keep up with the Joneses, compare with one another. Again, we can go back to the buying the house situation. I could look at all of my millennial friends and see their up and coming, lifestyles of them buying this house and them buying this that house, and I think to myself, okay, God, now look, I'm obedient. I'm a tither. I'm a sower. I'm this, that, and the other. And I know the promises of God that you would give me homes that I did not even build,
Yeah.
according to Deuteronomy. But I know this, God, that as I seek ye first the kingdom of God, that you're going to add all these things unto me. But when? All right, when is this going to happen? And I think that's again contingent on my anxiety, my impatience, my comparison, looking to see, okay, it's happening for them. Why not me? I am a king's kid. I'm your child. But then, we have to remind ourselves, as we were just talking about, like, we have to remind ourselves that, yeah, I am a king's kid. And my father is the father of time. Like, he knows the end from the beginning, the author and finisher of my faith. I'm not stressed. I'm not going to worry about it. Why worry about it? I'm going to cast my cares because, God, you're sovereign, and it's really a perspective change. And when we start to question, and I actually read this in your book as well, when we're pretty much flipping your complaints and questions into gratitude and just saying, God, I may not be a homeowner, but God, I thank you for this house that I'm renting that's more than I can even imagine,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I know the best is yet to come. And so when we start to question and complain, flipping that into gratitude really allows that trajectory and that journey of time to go a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. And you know something, I've heard you mention this word several times, and I'm thinking every time I hear it, why does that happen? Why does that come up? And it's impatience.
Mm.
When you were talking about us being impatient, and I thought to myself, I don't get impatient until I really hear the promise.
Mm. Right.
You know, if nobody tells me I'm going to get a house, I'm not anxious about getting a house. I
Think
you
about
know
think
I don't
about
have the time frame about getting it. But
right.
once you tell me, once you remind me, once you show me what God said, once God speaks to me and says I'm going to bless you with, or however that comes, that's when we get in our time. That's when we get in the when of it. And that's when we begin to get impatient. And I think it's part of that impatience that helps to uh, diminish our trust or takes our trust factor down.
And it makes our journey so unbearable. It's like, I mean, think about, for those listening and watching, think about when you were a child and you see all those Christmas presents under the tree. You're so impatient. You see the promise. You're so impatient, right? You're like, oh my gosh, when is it? When can I open it? When can I open it? You're not even thinking December 25th, right? You're just like, when can I open this? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was thinking. But even that, we have a timeline, we have a timetable. But again, you're seeing the promise, you see what's there, and we just get so caught up with that. And and it really is, when you think about all of the emotion that's wrapped up in that, it does make that journey, it makes it more difficult when you just are not, when you're not submitted to the timing and trusting God's timing. It's like, okay, it, listen, I believe this just came to me. I believe as we are in this journey and we are so impatient, or we're ready for the promise, I think God may say, you know what? Let's just push that promise back even a little bit further,
Uh-huh.
because Antonio has not passed the test, and the test of trusting my timing. I may push it back just a little bit further. And again, who knows? I don't know if God is like that, but I could see, I believe that that journey could easily be, what it may not be shorter, but it's going to feel shorter because I'm enjoying it when I trust His timing,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes, Antonio, we get to we are in a place where, just like you said, I'm faithful. I'm a tithe.
Mm,
I'm serving. I'm
mhm.
being what I believe that He has called me to be, and I'm doing what I think that He wants me to do, what the things that He wants me to do. But even in the midst of that, for for me to trust Him, sometimes I have to also reflect, because I'm thinking to
Mm,
myself, how do I get off track and how do I get back on track? How did I even get to this place of questioning Him? I know how good He is. I know what He's done for me before. I know He's a consistent God. I know that He's faithful. I know all these things. So how did I get off track, and how do I get back on track? How do I get back in that mode of relaxing in Him and saying, okay, God, you got it. You got it. You
yeah,
got it. And I think it comes from uh, our commitment to the relationship that I have with Him,
yeah,
because He's never led me astray. He's never led me wrong. If everything that He said He's going to do, He's going to do. And I have to also, I think, come into the realization that while it's my promise, I'm not the only one involved
right,
in the
right.
manifestation of that promise.
So true.
And that's when I sometimes have to step back and say, okay, in the midst of, the delay, or when it has not manifested and I begin to doubt, that I have to remember that it is more than what I am. It is more than what I am called to do. And only God can orchestrate from the other side of the world what I need on this side
Exactly.
and bring it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. And again, it's really trusting His character and
His
and
character, I like that.
his character, and his resume doesn't lie. I mean,
Uh,
his resume is spotless. And so if I know that, and here's the deal, I can look at your seasoned life and see what He's done for you. And last time I checked, He's no respecter of persons.
right.
So I know your transition from the DC area to North Carolina. And if He made that a-okay, I mean, you're thriving in North Carolina,
Yeah.
He's gonna make me my transition a-okay too. Because again, I can look at His resume, I could look at His character, and I can also, as you said, His relationship. I know that I'm a king's kid, and there, especially when I first started to move down here, when I first started to settle here in Atlanta, again, you have the questions in your mind like, okay, God, um, the standard of living is a lot higher here than North Carolina. Like, my my salary didn't go up, or you start to question, right? But then I had to remind myself, God, you didn't lead me here to fail, and God doesn't. If we can just trust His character and trust the timing of God, it's going to be. I'm telling you, it's going to be an enjoyable journey.
And we always talk about, we refer to and reflect on the past, and it's not where we want to live, but we have to understand that there are lessons in the journey then that we still need to apply now.
That's right.
Have you ever had that time where you were so sure of something, and so sure of when it was going to happen, and all of that seemed to be laid out, and it didn't happen, and you're not necessarily angry with God, but you're a little confused there as to what was supposed to be going on. You go through that, but as time progresses, and you get to the point of looking back, and you say to yourself, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness! If
Let me
I had gotten then what I asked for, then disaster."
Yeah. Our sweet friend, Valerie Worthy, has said time and time again, we will know in the sweet by and by. Now, the by and by can be here on earth. And we will know in that by and by when I look back and I say, thank you, God. And it's just, again, a reminder that He knows all, and all things are going to work together for the good. It will. But just to know that He is so sovereign, and so what's beautiful, what just blows my mind, Andrea, is that this sovereign God is so concerned and so invested in the intricate details, not just the intricate details of my life, your life, and everybody's that's watching. He knows the intricate details. And yet, here I am wondering, okay, God, when?
Yeah.
He knows the intricate, he knows exactly who I needed to meet
Mm-hmm.
on my transition here to Atlanta. He knew that I needed to meet this guy named Christian on the very first day at a gas station who taught me about the streets of Atlanta. I kid you not. I was about to bless this homeless man named Christian, pulled out some money. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm about to bless you, sir." "What do you mean? What am I doing?" And he said, "You don't pull cash out here in Atlanta. Like, you don't just do that. You don't just pull out cash. Like, be careful, And he was teaching me about the big city life on the very first day. He knew that I needed that moment,
Yes.
He
Yes.
knew. And again, it could be so simple, but it's so purposeful. And I believe that I get so caught up with that. And so, yes, to answer your question, when I can look back and I see, okay, it didn't exactly go how I planned, but His plans made it so worth it.
And what does the word say all the time? Lean not to your own understanding.
Not
Lean
my
not to your own understanding. I'm going to share something that happened with me too, and it keeps me. There are always moments, like you were saying. There are things that happen in our life, and things that God allows, that years can go by, and something will happen that will trigger that.
Yeah.
It says, don't forget, be mindful of what I taught you in that instance. And I had an opportunity to do um, have a table at the Southern Women's Show one year. And I had a business partner, and I was handwriting poetry at that time. And how crazy is that now? But that's what I was doing. And I I had always been successful. Whatever show I was in, whatever vendor thing I was in, whatever. I did a lot of crafts things then. Always, always. If nobody else sold anything, I sold every time, all the time. So I had asked people, well, how much product should I have, and what is the traffic like? And everybody told me about the hundreds of people that come through. So, and people had I had allowed people to invest in me, which I had never done before. So I had was there for 2 days, and I sold nothing, nothing, not one thing. And now I'm indebted to these folks. And I said, I told one of the people who had worked with me, I said, I'm not moving. I'm just not moving. And they were like, you can't get discouraged. And I thought, no, and it wasn't that I was discouraged, actually. I just knew that something hadn't happened that should have happened. I was unsure that I heard him. And I just sat down one day and said, God, I don't get it. I prayed. I asked you what to take. I asked you what to charge. I asked you, I'm sure that I was following exactly what you wanted me to do. Now, here's the piece. I don't think I was wrong.
Right.
I think I did take everything he wanted me to take. I did price it the way that he wanted me to price it. But what he said to me was, had I allowed you to be successful, you would have gone in a direction that I did not intend for you to
Mm.
go in.
See, you didn't know that direct. You didn't know the directions ahead of that. You know, so
I
that's
didn't know.
powerful.
I didn't know. But I do know this: when you learn a lesson, when God communicates with you out of relationship, it can be 9 years or 90 years later, and you will hear those words verbatim.
Yes, ma'am.
That is exactly what he said to me. And now, when I get in those situations where things don't work, I don't question so much that I didn't hear, or that I was wrong, or that I, was not doing what he wanted me to do. There's just another part of the plan,
Yeah,
and I go back in an introspective place and say, God, show me.
that's good.
Show me where I was in this equation and what I needed to get out of this equation so that I can move forward and be where you wanted me to be and do what you ultimately want me to do.
That's good. And one thing that I've adopted from that scenario, but just in life, is no losses, just lessons.
Ah,
And
I
and it's
like that, Antonio.
no
No losses, just lessons.
just lessons. That's really what it is. And so
Mhm.
you learned through that. It may have looked like a loss, but it's just a lesson. And
Mhm.
so that has alleviated so much disappointment, shame, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Um, because
Absolutely.
it's no losses, just lessons. And I think oftentimes we get so caught up in the detail. We try to figure out the details. The devil is in the details when he's got, as I mentioned, he's so intricately invested. And this scenario um, speaks to that. He knew the potential wrong direction you would have went if you had been successful. You could have been prideful. You could have been, who
Right.
knows what you could have been.
Right.
He knows. And so he had to say, let me pull you back just a little bit and
Mhm.
let me teach you about yourself and where you are in life, this, that, and the other. It's not a loss, just a lesson.
That's it. That's it. And that has just I don't have those immediate. I don't go into that discouragement ditch.
Yep.
I call it. I don't go there, because I know that he is concerned about all things that concern me.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, whatever the situation is, whatever the circumstance is, he's got my back.
And whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say.
Yes, yes.
It
It
is
is,
well.
it
It
is
is
well.
well.
It
And
is
that's it.
well.
It's well with my soul. I'm good. I mean, it's
Yes, yes,
well. So when
yes.
we start to have that perspective shift, you sold zero at that show. It's well. Guess what? It is well because there's people that now know you have to think about. There's people that know you now. Who knows? You just have to think differently and take the expect as we just talked about, take the expectations off and be fully submitted and aligned to God because who knows why you were at that show? Who knows? There could have been someone that needed to speak with you that day. Who knows?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
you were submitted, and I think that's really powerful. I think that's really, really good.
The trust, and that is, it took me to another level of trust,
Yeah.
because I've been in other situations since then. I had a business close, and my customers wanted to, do a petition to
Right. To keep you.
property people, and all of that. And I said no, because he put me here, and if he chooses to move me from here, I'm good. Like you said, it is well. It is well, because I know he's got something planned on the other side. I know it
So
is
true.
greater than whatever is going on now. And if part of this, in my trusting him, he realized he could trust me.
Yeah.
Now he wants to move me into something bigger, something greater. And the lessons that I learned, I can take with me. You talk about it being all good. Hey, it's all good.
It's all good. And that's a whole nother topic. Him trusting us. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. And I think that again, when we are fully submitted and aligned, it is well. I mean, I think when he can trust us with our journey with him, it just is accelerated, elevated, all of that. And then
Activated.
yeah, yes, activated too. Yes, it
All of
is
that.
so true. It's
All of
good
that.
stuff.
Well, I tell you what, we're coming down to our last few minutes, Antonio. I want you to tell the people a little bit about your business, what you're
Sure.
doing now, and so that we can tap into that and tune into that. And guys, thank you for being here tonight. And as Antonio invited you to do, please, please, please share the broadcast if you know anybody who may be struggling, with just chilling out, just
Yeah.
waiting on God and trusting His timing. Be sure to share, and we will re-air this broadcast on Saturday at noon. So if it's somebody you may want to listen again with them, or whatever you want to do, but just make sure that this information gets to them. Antonio, tell us about what you're doing now, sir.
Yes, of course. And let me just also say, and I don't want to go down into this other rabbit trail, but this really just came to me. Um, we're so accustomed to comfort, and I think that it's okay to be uncomfortable. All right, let's go ahead and just give ourselves the freedom to be uncomfortable. As you were just sharing, God may take us from this place to that place, and it may not be the desired place you want to be, but He knows the next place, right? That's setting you up, and so it's okay to be uncomfortable. Just trust God. It's okay. So I did want to just kind of talk about that comfort piece. But anyway, so yeah, so as we alluded to earlier, I am a freelance publicist. So what's that mean, Antonio? I put you in the spotlight that you deserve. I provide media visibility and awareness. I provide PR strategy and social media strategy and a host of other services that really allow your brand to shine and to have a greater public awareness and visibility. So, you know, a lot of people have different niches. My niche really is people that are making a difference and an impact. I love that social impact piece. So I've worked with people that are authors and that provide services. Currently, I'm working for a very large campaign that is, Andrew, like the Rose Bowl and the
Yeah.
Orange Bowl, some of these like college football games. There is a college football game called the Orange Blossom Classic down in Miami. It's on Labor Day weekend between Jackson State University and Florida A&M. And so myself and a colleague of mine is working on a massive campaign, pushing that out and highlighting the community impact, the Black business, cultivating, and all of the things that come with it, as well as the whole HBCU culture. So that's something I'm very excited about that I'm working on. And I've got some other things coming down the pipeline as well that with clients. And so I'm very excited about what God is doing as He is establishing the work of my hands. I'm truly grateful. So you can find out more information at antoniosantoro.me, www.antoniosantoro.me. If you are coming out with a book, service, product, event, or you got an organization that you want to be highlighted, I do offer complimentary 30-minute consultation sessions where we really just dive into the needs of what you're looking for and then how I can best serve you. And we can go from strategy sessions to a full-out campaign. So you just let me know what you need and we can go from there. So feel free to reach out to me, antoniosantoro.me.
All right, all right. Antonio, thank you so much.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you for being with me this evening and diving into this topic. It is something that we need to keep before us. God is a good God. He's a
Yes,
gracious
it
God,
is.
and He loves His children. And we don't want to get in our own way. We don't want to self-sabotage, and we definitely don't want to attempt to move ahead of Him. So these are good nuggets, guys. I hope that you all got something from the broadcast tonight. Remember, there's no loss, only lessons. And whatever you do, trust God in His timing. That's going to be key to
Yes.
your journey. And I thank you. I thank you, Antonio, for being
Thank
with me.
you.
Thank you all for tuning in and for listening tonight. And just remember, I'm not going to be live next week, but we are going to have a rebroadcast of Detours, Delays, and Denials. That was a great show, and it is definitely something that we want to delve into again as we connect these dots through
Yes.
life. So thank you for being a part of everything. And next week, come on back, turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good night, everybody. Good night, Antonio.
Good
We
night.
are
Thank
talking,
you.
sir.
Thank you.